Turkey is dealing with a number of important legal issues, including the fight against terrorism and corruption investigations that have sparked protests in Istanbul and other cities. Trt World sat down with the Turkish Justice Minister, Yılmaz Tunç, to hear his thoughts. Thanks for speaking to Trt World. How do you respond to the criticism that Ekrem İmamoğlu's arrest is politically motivated?
Bir kere bu soruşturmalar siyasi soruşturmalar değil.
First, these investigations are not political. This is an entirely judicial investigation. There are two investigations initiated by the Istanbul Chief Public Prosecutor's Office. They're based on notifications, complaints, and some reports received by the Istanbul Chief Public Prosecutor's Office. The Terrorism Investigation Bureau is conducting one, the Organized Crime Investigation Bureau is conducting the other. There are 106 suspects in both investigations. There are 7 suspects related to the terrorism investigation. 3 individuals have been arrested. 2 individuals are still on the run. In the organized crime investigation, there are more suspects. Arrest warrants have been issued for certain individuals. This is an entirely judicial investigation. Attempts to portray this as a political matter or to create the perception that these investigations are being conducted for political reasons are not correct. This is entirely under the purview of the Istanbul Chief Public Prosecutor's Office, particularly focusing on allegations of irregularities in tenders, unlawful access to personal data, manipulation of tenders, bribery, corruption, and fraud. Of course, the investigation is confidential. The investigation must continue within this confidential framework. When commenting on these investigations, whether for or against, we must respect the presumption of innocence and the right to avoid defamation. Portraying this as a political investigation or calling for public demonstrations, as the CHP chairman Özgür Özel has done, and inciting violence because of such calls is not appropriate. The Republic of Turkey is a state governed by the rule of law. According to Article 138 of our Constitution, judicial authorities do not receive instructions from anybody, authority or individual when conducting investigations or prosecutions. No authority or individual can give orders, instructions, recommendations or suggestions to the judiciary regarding their jurisdiction over ongoing investigations. Judicial authority in Turkey is exercised by independent courts. Within this framework, suspects will present their defense against the accusations and submit their evidence in response to the evidence presented. At the conclusion of the investigation, if an indictment is prepared, the public will see all the details with complete transparency. Therefore, as a requirement of the rule of law, we must wait for the investigation to conclude.
Turkey asserts its commitment to the rule of law, yet it continues to face criticism over alleged politicization of its judiciary. How do you respond to these concerns, and what measures are being taken to reinforce judicial independence and public confidence in the legal system?
Tabii Türkiye Cumhuriyeti Devleti bir hukuk devleti dedik.
We have always stated that the Republic of Turkey is a state governed by the rule of law. In terms of strengthening the rule of law, enhancing fundamental rights and freedoms, and expanding legal avenues for seeking justice, Turkey has made significant progress, particularly over the last quarter century, and has undertaken a determined struggle to achieve a democracy of the highest standards. Of course, in the past, our judiciary has had its issues, especially during periods of military coups. We encountered judicial decisions that led to negative consequences. We saw this on May 27th, during the September 12th coup, and on February 28th. However, the judicial mindset that supported a tutelage mentality has been abandoned. We transitioned to a judiciary that believes in the rule of law, democracy, and renders decisions on behalf of the people. In our 4th Judicial Reform Strategy document, we outlined 264 new targets, including strengthening the institutional structure of the judiciary, speeding up judicial processes, ensuring the timely delivery of justice, enhancing the capacity of human resources, improving the quality of legal education in law facilities, and increasing the effectiveness of the criminal justice system. We are making every effort to enhance citizens' trust in the judiciary and to improve access to justice. For us, justice is the foundation of the state. It is about delivering justice to those who are right immediately. Therefore, we continue our efforts to do whatever is necessary, both legally and practically, to further increase the public's trust in justice.
Looking back at 2024, the judiciary in Turkey issued nearly 14 million decisions with millions of cases still ongoing. How do you assess Turkey's judicial and legal performance?
Tabii 13.900.000 karar verildi.
Of course, 13.9 million decisions are made. There are 11 million decisions carried over from the previous year. These include investigations by the Chief Public Prosecutor's offices. A significant portion of these investigations is related to technology, social media, and crimes committed online, where the perpetrator is unknown, which can make the number of investigations appear high, especially with the increase in cybercrime. The fact that more decisions are being made than cases carried over indicates that delays in the judiciary can be avoided in the future. We have judges and prosecutors working tirelessly. Of course, as the Ministry of Justice, we cannot interfere in their judicial decisions. The judiciary is independent and impartial. However, there is a lot of negative propaganda claiming that Turkey ranks very low in the Legal Security Index. We do not accept this. Turkey is a democratic, secular, and social state governed by the rule of law. Unfortunately, there are some perception management efforts. Attempts are being made to show Turkey is behind in some indices, which Turkey does not deserve. It is not credible to claim that countries without democratic governance or free elections rank higher than Turkey in legal security. When looking at objective criteria, considering the strides Turkey has made in judicial reform in recent years, and conducting through research based on actual court users rather than desk surveys, the real situation will be revealed. Foreign investors can come to Turkey and invest with complete legal assurance. The numbers also show this. Up until 2002, the total amount of direct foreign investment in Turkey was $15 billion. Since 2002, with the strengthening of legal security and the rule of law and the steps taken toward a high-standard democracy, the total amount of direct foreign investment in Turkey has reached $273 billion. We are a country where our courts, which render independent and impartial decisions, and alternative dispute resolution mechanisms such as arbitration and mediation are also applied. Particularly arbitration practices which are widespread in the West, and especially in the business world, are implemented by Turkey's chambers of commerce and other institutions. We have mediation centers and arbitration centers that handle disputes outside the judiciary. For this reason, those who try to create the perception that there is no legal security in Turkey are doing a disservice to the country.
Could you please comment on Turkey's relationship with the European Court of Human Rights?
Türkiye Avrupa İnsan Hakları Mahkemesi'ne taraf bir ülke.
Turkey is a party to the European Court of Human Rights and a country that respects its decisions. We place great importance on Turkey-European Union relations. Due to its significant geopolitical position, Turkey is a strategic country. Improving this process is important for us. We're also a country that complies with the decisions of the European Court of Human Rights. When we look at the number of cases in the European Court of Human Rights, we see that the majority of cases stems from the coup attempt by the FETÖ terror group on July 15th. In fact, 80% of the cases are related to that. When we look at the remaining figures and when we compare them proportionally to the population, we are actually in the middle range among the 46 countries of the Council of Europe in terms of applications. In terms of compliance with the decisions of the European Court of Human Rights and their enforcement, we are above the general average. The data of the European Court of Human Rights is clear. While the compliance rate with the decisions of the European Court of Human Rights for all countries is 79%, Turkey's compliance rate is 90%. Therefore, a form of black propaganda is being attempted, as if Turkey does not comply with the decisions of the European Court of Human Rights, based on a few cases that have been referred to the Committee of Ministers, especially because the judicial processes in Turkey have not been fully completed yet. And while these processes are ongoing, cases have also been brought before the European Court of Human Rights. A few cases, particularly the cases of Demirtaş and Kavala, which are continuously kept on the agenda in Europe, are being focused on. The judicial processes in these cases are still ongoing. In Kavala's case, a violation decision regarding his detention was made, but judicial processes continued afterward, and now a final ruling by the judiciary has been made. Regarding the detention, the decision of the European Court of Human Rights is also still being discussed in the Committee of Ministers. There is also a conviction decision regarding Demirtaş. The judicial processes regarding that decision are still ongoing as well. Therefore, the propaganda claiming that we do not comply with the decisions of the European Court of Human Rights is unjust. Moreover, we are a country that, in our national legal system, grants the right to individual application to the Constitutional Court, similar to the European Court of Human Rights in the field of human rights, and we place special importance on this.
Thanks so much for your time.